Have you wondered if it is possible to go from where you are now to a place where you are completely free and unencumbered from a struggle with sleep? If so, this video is for you. We're going to see that the answer is a resounding yes, even if it has seemed impossible. In fact, we're going to look at some common reasons why you may have believed it was impossible for you. We're going to look at how to meet them so you can arrive where you want to be, a place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. Welcome to this episode of Insomnia Insight, in which we're going to look at a very common question, which is it possible to completely recover from insomnia? This is a question from someone who either is really struggling and wondering if it is even possible to arrive where there's no struggle, or somebody who has seen things getting easier, but is thinking that probably I will always have to sort of manage this or contain this or do some things to not struggle again. And this person is, of course, wondering, like, is it possible really to be completely free of this? And so I want to actually start, before even looking at like the various sections of this little talk, by answering the question, because it's a very emotionally charged one. So we want to, offer some relief right away. And to me, the question of whether it's possible to completely leave the struggle is an absolute yes. In fact, not only do I believe it is possible, I believe that this inevitably flows from your readiness to learn, because I think learning really is all that we need in this situation. And so the fact that you are here, the fact that you didn't click on a thumbnail that said, how to fall asleep in 6 seconds using the military method, or a video that said, fix your insomnia in 5 days by eating kiwi fruits or something like that. The fact that you're here means that you want to learn. You want to truly understand. You are a place where you're ready to leave the struggle, and that leads where you want to go. That is my firm belief, because insomnia is not a disorder. Of course, there are medical conditions that are chronic. There's some autoimmune conditions, for example, that come and go throughout our lives, and it's nothing really we can do to predict them or completely cure them at this moment in time. We'd rather have to kind of manage them when there is when there's a flare up, something like that. But that's not insomnia. Insomnia is not a disorder like that. It is a misunderstanding. Insomnia happens when our brain, which is a survival machine, safety machine, it has misclassified being awake at night as a threat. And then as it tries to have us escape this perceived threat, this imagined threat, we struggle with sleep. But when that misunderstanding is clarified, truly clarified, when we intellectually and emotionally, on a deep level, understand that there is no threat, there is no danger, there's nothing we need to escape, then there is no more sleep struggle. So absolutely, absolutely possible. In fact, again, I think it's inevitable when we are ready for this journey inside. Now, with that said, let us take a closer look at what we want to go over here. We want to look at, what does recovery mean, and what does it not mean? Because if we have a false idea of what this word means, that can actually make it look like it is impossible. So this is a key topic. And then some what if scenarios, which are very common. And then we're going to summarize everything. So let's start with number one here, what recovery means and what it does not mean. So what does recovery mean? I remember when Drew Linsalata from The Anxious Truth was a guest, very early on in our podcast episode, I sort of asked him to share his journey, and he shared his definition of recovery, which always stayed with me. I thought it was very nice. He said, "You recovered when you no longer wonder if you were recovered." And to me, the way I interpreted this in my mind is that when we see that there is, again, no disorder, no disease, nothing to recover from, then this question of whether we're recovered or not sort of becomes irrelevant. It has no meaning. We see there's nothing we need to fight. There's nothing we need to do. There's no action required from us. And then we live life freely and in an unencumbered way. So I think this is a really key thing to see here, that recovery is what I often refer to as like having left the struggle. The tricky thing with the word recovery is that it again implies that there's something to recover from. But on the other hand, we need some words to be able to communicate with each other, right? So sometimes I still use the word recovery, but I use the word leaving the struggle more often because I think that's more true, that there's like this inner struggle and we can abandon that and leave that, which is also tricky because it implies that we need to do something to leave the struggle. Leave the struggle needs to some action. But if you truly want to see things clearly, it is more like when we have understood something, like the struggle sort of disintegrates, that we see that there was nothing, that the whole thing was just an illusion. But what is recovery, getting more tangible and practical here, to me, it means that we are living life freely. There's nothing that keeps us from doing what we want to do. And we're not bothered by anything related to sleep struggles. Like we live life in an unencumbered way. There's nothing that keeps us from living freely and pursuing our values and doing what we want to do. Now, here's, I think the next section here may be even more helpful to understand. So what is it that recovery does not mean? Because there's a lot of confusion here. Recovery does not mean that we never again have a restless night, because those restless nights are just part of the human experience. For whatever reason, we will have choppy nights. Maybe we're stressed about some circumstance in our lives. Maybe there's a bit of like the fear of not sleeping kind of like popping up again. But that doesn't mean anything. One restless night doesn't mean anything. It has no meaning. It just means that, well, we were a little bit stressed that time, right? And similarly about thoughts. So recovery does not mean never worrying or thinking about sleep again. If we think about someone who had their house was on, like there was a house fire, like their house was burnt down, and it was very traumatic, very scary. They got their belongings, ran out, and like barely escaped this house fire, right? If this person says that now 25 years later, they still are a little bit frazzled when they hear people talking about fires, and when they think about this event 25 years ago, what happens every now and then, they feel a little flustered. Would we say that, oh my gosh, you haven't recovered from this thing that happened 25 years ago? We would never say that. We would be like, yeah, of course, like that was a really traumatic event 25 years ago, and of course sometimes you still think about it, and et cetera, et cetera. But if this person who survived a house fire 25 years ago, if they, generally speaking, they do what they want in life, they're doing whatever they feel like, this like, that is the human experience. All of us humans have some things that have happened to us in our lives that we still think about here and there, that still brings up some kind of uncomfortable feelings, right? That's completely normal part of the human experience. And why does this matter? Well, this matters because if we have this idea that quote unquote recovery means that we should never think about sleep again, we should never have a sleepless night again or a restless night again, then we are setting ourselves up for struggle, because we will think about it. We will have a restless night, right? And then if we then think about sleep again, like, oh no, I'm thinking about sleep again, I'm worrying about it again, oh, I'm not recovered, what am I going to do? That leads us towards more effort. That leads us like trying to stop our thoughts, stop our emotions, stop ourselves from being awake at night, etc., which is the struggle. That is insomnia, right? So I think it really, really helps when we see that this is not the case at all, because then as things get easier for us, thanks to our readiness to learn, and here and there, we still think about sleep, we worry about it, we have restless night, but we think like, yeah, this is part of life, then we are recovered, right? Then we are living freely. Then there's nothing that stands in our way. So again, when we have a false definition, it can look like we're not recovered because we define it in a tricky way, right? And it can seem like, oh no, I'm still thinking about this. This means I haven't recovered. Not true at all, right? So this definition, I think, really, really matters. Now, shifting gears here, there is another reason why it can seem like complete recovery is not possible. And again, so we're asking the question here, what does recovery not mean? And recovery does not mean that we're having to continue to do some things to sort of manage our insomnia, to keep it at bay, right? To keep it under check and things of that nature. And this is someone who has, embarked on this journey inside, learning about their thoughts and emotions, and starting to see things clearly. And things have gotten easier, but there's still this idea that, okay, I'm sleeping easier, but I still have to make sure that I take this medication, or I have to make sure that I'm in bed by this time and get up at this time, or I have to make sure that I have this wind down routine that starts 1 hour before I go to bed, et cetera, et cetera. These are actually just actually lingering sleep efforts, which simply means that there's kind of like a conditional recovery or something of that nature, which means that we think that, okay, for me personally, I can see how I can arrive here where things are getting easier for me, but I still have to manage things somewhat, right? But this is not true. In reality, this just means that we have a little bit of learning left. Like in reality, this means that we have kind of partially seen that there's no threat, but we think that maybe we just want to make sure, like maybe there's no threat, but maybe we just want to maintain some efforts to make sure, right? Which means that there's just a little bit of learning ahead of us. And when we see that these things we have done to quote unquote manage are just part of our, the safety response, and they're part of what we naturally do when we think there's maybe a little threat left, right? Then we see that, oh, those are not necessary either, and we can be completely free and unencumbered as we leave those efforts, right? And by the way, leave those efforts, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like stop taking this pill or stop, having a nice wind down in the evening. It's just the intent. When the intent no longer becomes like, oh, I have to do this to kind of manage this or keep this in check. But when the intent becomes like, oh, I just do what I feel like doing this, then there's nothing from keeping us from seeing that we are truly free and recovered. Now we're going to shift gears to number 2 here, and those are our what if scenarios. And I put it as number 1 for some reason, but this is going to be number 2. So 2 what if scenarios. Now, if you have arrived here at this part of the video class, and you're thinking, okay, I get what Daniel is saying, but Daniel doesn't know me, doesn't know my circumstances. What if, for example, what if I've had insomnia for 25 years, for a really, really long time? Is it really possible for me to completely recover? And the answer is yes, absolutely. And in fact, my answer to this one is fairly brief. When I have questions from students and I just look at the question itself, I cannot tell if the person asking me a question has struggled with sleep for 2 weeks or 2 decades. The questions are exactly the same, right? If somebody struggled for a couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, decades, it's exactly the same thought patterns, exactly the same questions. So this, knowing this, we can easily see that this is also the exact same things that lead to recovery, which is just learning, just education, regardless of how long we struggle with sleep. It's the same things that lead where we want to be. If the struggle has been a very long time, can it take a little bit longer? Perhaps, maybe, because our brain may think that it has more evidence that there is a real threat, but that doesn't keep us at all from like the complete recovery. So that's the first what if one. Second what if is this one. What if I have multiple medical conditions? What if I have like arthritis and I have diabetes and I have like a heart condition, something like that? Well, to this, I would say that medical conditions, of course, can disrupt our sleep. If somebody has multiple medical conditions and said, oh, I have absolutely no problem sleeping, I fall asleep easily, I sleep through the night, and I'm, this age, which is, person with multiple medical conditions is probably a bit older, that would sound unreal. It would be like, how's this possible? It's very unlikely. So the point I'm trying to make here is that medical conditions are very likely to disrupt our sleep, to make it more choppy. Maybe it takes longer to fall asleep. Maybe you wake up more often. Maybe you stay awake longer, et cetera, et cetera. But that's completely expected and has nothing to do with insomnia, which is this emotional struggle where we had a fear of not sleeping, right? And regardless of what medical conditions we have, we can unlearn that, and we can see that, yes, we may still have some sleep disruptions, some choppy sleep, but no struggle whatsoever. But what if I have multiple mental health problems? Not only do I have insomnia, I have OCD, I have panic attacks, I've struggled with depression, I've struggled with anxiety for many years, something like that. To me, the answer here becomes that there really is just one inner struggle. When you start to understand insomnia, you also understand panic attacks. You also understand OCD. You also understand depression. You also understand PTSD. You understand them all, because they're actually not multiple conditions, in my opinion. They're just they're just different aspects of one struggle. And if you learn about one of them and you truly see what it is about, you can apply that learning to all of them. And not only can you be completely recovered from one, you can be completely recovered from all facets of the one struggle, right? So absolutely. Now, you can, at this point, you may still be, okay, Daniel, I hear you, but what if, insert the question you have here. And you're right. I don't know what you would insert there, but having done this for many, many years, I can tell you this, that regardless of your circumstances, you can learn. You're here, you're tuning in, you're taking in information. You can learn. You can also be kind to yourself, in that, like, learning, understanding, and being kinder and gentler with ourselves, that leads to where we want to be. So in summary here, we have seen that being completely free and unencumbered is not only possible, but it's really inevitable when we are ready to learn. And by the way, if you're now asking, like, what does that mean by ready to learn? Well, it's just like you're in a place in your life where you're sort of attracted to this teaching, and you can see how you can internalize it, and you're ready to learn. And then the final what if here, which I didn't include, just came to me now, is like, what if I'm not ready to learn? You will be, because nobody wants to struggle. Nobody wants to be in a difficult place. So sooner or later, you will be ready to learn, and then you will leave the struggle forever. Hope this made sense to you. As always, let me know in the comment section what you thought. Look forward to having you here real soon. Bye for now. Hi there, it's me, Coach Daniel. I hope you found a lot of value in the video you just watched. And if you're looking for a bit more personalized support on your insomnia recovery journey, then head over to thesleepcrystal.com. I think it is the #1 resource for insomnia sufferers worldwide. And there you will find free programs as well as paid programs with certified sleep coaches. You can join a community of people who understand what you're going through because they've gone through it themselves, or they are on this journey of leaving the struggle and arriving where they want to be, just like you, that place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. So again, I hope the video that you just saw brought a lot of value to you. And if you're looking for a bit more personalized support on your journey, then head over to thesleepcoachschool.com. And if you decide to join, we look forward to seeing you on the other side.